The stars were silent, as always, cold, endless, watching. On the edge of the galaxy, a peaceful blue world called Talair burned. Smoke rose into the sky as Dominion warships circled above like hungry beasts. On the ground, people screamed and scattered through the rubble. Alien soldiers, tall and armored, marched through the streets with rifles that glowed red. Buildings fell. The sky cracked with thunder not made by nature, but by war. In a dark corner of the city, hidden beneath a ruined science tower, a group of alien survivors huddled around an ancient machine. A blinking console showed a symbol in red, one that hadn't been seen in thousands of years. It was a distress beacon, an old one, banned by the Dominion. One that sent messages across the stars, beyond even the known galaxy. A message that wasn't meant to be used again. An old scientist, his gray skin burned and hands shaking, placed his palm on the console. "They said Earth is dead," he whispered to himself. "They said humanity disappeared." He coughed, blood filling his mouth. "But legends say they never died. They just vanished." A younger alien, no more than a child, looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. "Will they come?" she asked. The old man looked down, eyes full of sadness. "No one comes anymore, child. The stars are quiet, but we have no one else to call." He pressed the activation key. Across the galaxy, millions of light years away, inside a black region of space long abandoned by charted maps, a signal flickered to life. The sector was marked dead space, no entry. But deep inside its heart, past hundreds of cloaked satellites and signal jammers, something stirred. A station buried inside a hollow asteroid woke from sleep. Lights turned on. Machines scanned the signal. A red alert flashed inside a command room, and within minutes, a message was relayed to a warship sitting silent among the rocks. On board the warship, a woman in black uniform stood alone, watching the screen. Her name was Admiral Reva Kane, commander of Earth's Shadow Fleet. Her face was calm, but her eyes narrowed at the signal pulsing on the screen. Ancient language, fragmented code. But one word kept repeating, "Help! Help! Help!" The officer beside her broke the silence. "That sector is under Dominion control, Admiral. Why would someone send an old human code from there?" Reva didn't answer. She walked slowly to the console, touched the screen, and zoomed in on the origin. A planet she had once read about in Earth's ancient war archives. Talair. She remembered the stories. The Dominion had taken it 100 years ago. The people. There were peaceful, soft-spoken scientists. No military, no threat. "They're not asking for rescue," she said finally. "They're asking for something worse." The officer looked confused. "Worse?" "They're asking us to return." The room went quiet. For 200 years, Earth had stayed hidden from the galaxy. After the Great Betrayal, when the Old Galactic Council left Earth to burn during a war, humanity vanished into the dark. They never forgot. They never forgave. They just watched and waited, building ships, creating weapons, preparing. While the galaxy told stories about their extinction, the truth was far more dangerous. Humans had simply stepped away, but now, someone had called them back. Admiral Reva stood still, heart heavy. She remembered her grandfather's stories, how the Talani once protected a group of lost Earth refugees after the Council abandoned them. How they gave them shelter when no one else would, and now those same people were being erased by the Dominion. A low voice spoke behind her. General Mace, older than most of her crew, scarred and silent for years, finally said, "They helped us when no one did. Maybe it's time we return the favor." Reva nodded. Hours later, in a dark chamber hidden beneath the main deck, Earth's High War Council appeared as glowing holograms. Faces with sharp eyes, aged with time and secrets, stared at the Admiral. "Do you suggest we break our silence?" one asked. "The Dominion is wiping them out," Riva said. "We received a signal no one else could hear. Perhaps we were never meant to hear it," another voice said coldly. "They used human code," Riva replied. "They remembered us. In their final moments, they remembered who we were." A long pause followed. Then a voice, low and commanding, said the words she had waited her whole life to hear. "Launch the fleet." Somewhere above Talair, as the last city fell and Dominion ships prepared to leave, their sensors flickered. For a second, a shadow moved between the stars, too fast to lock on, too large to be a fighter. The commander of the Dominion destroyer leaned forward. "What was that?" Before anyone could answer, the sky lit up. A Dominion warship, strong, proud, undefeated, exploded in a flash of silent fire. The blast was clean, almost surgical. No debris, no warning. The others screamed across the radio, trying to locate the source. Then the signal came. A voice, deep, cold, and full of something the Dominion hadn't heard in centuries. Fury. "You hurt one of ours," the voice said. Then a second Dominion ship burst apart. We heard their cries. Another explosion, followed by silence. And now we've come. The final image broadcast across the stars was of a single dark ship, shaped like a blade, hovering above the burning world. No markings, no flag, but on its side, one symbol glowed in blue fire. Earth. The silence that followed the first strike was worse than any battle cry. Dominion fleets had ruled the outer sectors for over a century. They were feared, obeyed. No one had dared to fight them on equal ground in decades. So when the warships of Earth emerged from the shadows and began to dismantle a Dominion assault group without warning, it wasn't just destruction, it was terror. One by one, Dominion vessels vanished in flashes of white fire, clean and cold. No survivors, no broadcasts. Just a strange alien silence that followed each explosion, like death itself was watching. In orbit over Talair, Earth's ship, the Revenant, hovered like a giant blade above the broken world. Its hull was dark gray, but beneath its surface, faint lines glowed with deep blue light. The engines made no sound. The weapons didn't glow. And yet, each time they fired, another Dominion vessel disappeared. No one could see the projectiles. No one knew the weapon's source. The enemy simply ceased to exist. Inside the Revenant, Admiral Riva Kane stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the stars. "Scan for survivors," she said softly. Her voice didn't shake, she didn't shout, but the crew obeyed immediately. One by one, dozens of smaller Earth ships detached from the mothership, sleek, silent craft with folded wings and scanner drones. They entered the planet's atmosphere like silver ghosts, scanning rubble, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings, and erasing Dominion soldiers who refused to retreat. One Earth Marine squad landed outside a crushed science dome where the signal had come from. The squad leader, Sergeant Mira Dunn, was the first to step through the dust and fire. Her suit was sealed tight, and her weapon was almost silent as it took down a surviving enemy soldier without hesitation. "Clear," she whispered, her HUD lit up with life signatures. "I have movement." "Under the rubble," a child cried out weakly. It was the same young girl who had watched her father press the signal button. Now, covered in ash and shaking from fear, she crawled out from the ruins with blood on her skin and glass in her hair. Behind her, the old scientist, barely alive, gripped a broken data rod. "Human," he gasped. "Are you human?" Mira nodded, kneeling down. She opened her helmet just enough to let him see her face. "We're here now," she said. "You called, and we answered." The old man smiled faintly. "They said Earth was gone," he whispered. "They said you vanished." "We did," Mira replied, "but we never stopped watching." As the girl and the scientist were lifted aboard, more survivors emerged, injured, starving, lost. Earth soldiers moved quickly, without emotion. They were trained for this, built for it. But among the alien survivors, a quiet whisper began to grow. Some had seen the fleet, some had heard the voice. One word passed between them again and again: human. Not a myth. Not extinct, real and angry. Back aboard the Revenant, the bridge was filled with silent activity. A live map showed multiple Dominion fleets converging on the sector. "They know we're here," the tactical officer said. "We broke 100-year silence. They'll bring everything." Riva watched the screen closely. "Let them." She turned to General Mace, who was standing near the strategy table, arms crossed. "I want the Skyburn protocol in place." Mace raised an eyebrow. "You sure? That's extreme." "They need to understand who they're dealing with," she said. "We don't just protect. We end threats." Within minutes, the fleet began to move again. Earth ships vanished from orbit in a flash of quantum displacement. The Dominion reinforcements, over 200 ships, entered the Tilaire system only to find nothing. The planet below was quiet. No enemy ships, no signals, just smoking ruins and silence. Then, one by one, Dominion vessels started to fail. First, their communications went dark. Then, their engines sputtered. Targeting systems froze. Entire squadrons lost control, spinning helplessly as their own navigation turned against them. Onboard AI systems screamed warnings no one understood. Their technology, once unmatched, was now useless. From the shadows, the Revenant returned. It fired once, just once. A shockwave of invisible force tore through space like a crack in reality. Dominion command ships shattered. Smaller cruisers blinked out of existence. Those who tried to flee found their paths blocked by stealth mines, cloaked drones, and shadow. Fighters that moved like phantoms. On every Dominion channel, a message appeared. "You have forgotten Earth." But Earth remembers everything. Panic spread. Captains screamed. Soldiers begged. Some tried to surrender. Others tried to escape. None succeeded. The sector went dark. Back on Tilaire, the survivors watched the sky from the hills above the destroyed capital. For the first time in years, there were no enemy ships above. Only Earth vessels, silent, watching, unmoving, like sentinels. The Talani elder, saved by Mira, stood weakly beside his people. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you come back?" Mira looked at him. Her voice was calm. "Because you remembered us when no one else did." That night, across the outer colonies of the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Of ships with no flags. Of a power long thought dead. Of humans returning, not as diplomats or traders, but as something else entirely. They weren't here to talk. They were here because someone cried for help, and Earth heard it. The Dominion had never lost like this. Not in decades. Not this fast. Not this clean. Entire fleets had vanished in seconds, erased like chalk from a board. The survivors who escaped, if any truly did, spoke in whispers, their voices shaking. They said they never saw the enemy. They said the enemy moved like shadows, that their ships screamed before dying. And worst of all, they said the enemy was human. In the central command of the Dominion, located on the massive star station Veltrax Prime, panic moved quietly through high-ranking circles. Officials denied the reports at first. "Earth is gone," they said. "Those are imposters, old ships, stolen tech." But the data told a different story. Weapons used in the attacks matched ancient Earth signatures, modified, upgraded, but still recognizable. Ships used energy types long considered extinct, and the battle reports, they spoke of tactics so sharp, so cold, that no one else could have designed them. Humanity wasn't just back. It had evolved, and it wasn't looking for peace. On the far side of the galaxy, the Revenant and its strike group floated in the void near a Dominion slave hub known as Garros 7. The station was massive, built into an asteroid and used for trading resources and bodies. The Talani survivors rescued from Talair had told the humans about it. "Many of our people were taken there," one had said, voice full of sorrow. "Those who weren't killed were sold." Admiral Riva had listened in silence. She hadn't asked for confirmation. She hadn't needed to. Slavery was still legal under Dominion rule. Earth had outlawed it centuries ago. That was all she needed to know. No threats were sent, no warnings. The Revenant and 3 destroyers appeared near Garros 7 without signal, without approach. Inside the station, alarms blared. Dominion guards scrambled. Their ships began to launch, but Earth had already locked them out. Their engines wouldn't start. Their controls froze. One by one, the Dominion vessels powered down mid-launch and drifted helplessly. Then the voice came again. "You took what wasn't yours." A moment later, the Earth fleet opened fire. Not with the same weapons used at Talair. These were precise, controlled. Each blast struck only military targets. Shield generators, defense cannons, communication towers. Within minutes, the station was crippled. Escape pods launched, but Earth's fighters intercepted them, scanning for non-combatants and escorting prisoners to safety. Inside Garros 7, Earth soldiers moved like ghosts, clearing room after room, releasing alien prisoners. From cages, disabling Dominion guards with near-silent weapons. No one screamed. No one begged. There wasn't time. Sergeant Mira led the ground squad again. This time the halls were darker, dirtier. The prisoners were thinner, some barely alive. She didn't speak much, just moved quickly, breaking locks, lifting bodies, handing out medkits. One small Talani boy grabbed her leg and refused to let go. "Are you monsters?" he asked softly, his voice dry. Mira stopped. She looked down at him, kneeling to his eye level. Her helmet was off. Her face was covered in soot, but her eyes were kind. "No," she said. But they should have remembered why they once called us that. Hours later, Garros 7 was empty. Every prisoner rescued. Every guard either gone or locked inside their own cages. Earth didn't claim the station. They didn't leave flags or records. They simply uploaded a message to the Dominion network. "This is not a war. This is a reckoning." The galaxy took notice. News spread fast. On outer colony worlds under Dominion rule, whispers became louder. Secret groups began to rise. Aliens, long forced to obey, started asking old questions. What if Earth wasn't extinct? What if the legends were true? What if the monsters the Dominion feared had come back to protect, not destroy? In the Dominion High Council, fear turned to desperation. The commanders argued. Some wanted peace talks. Others demanded total war. But one voice rose louder than all the rest, that of Lord Varric, the supreme warlord of the Dominion. Cold, brutal, and old enough to remember Earth's fall firsthand, Varric slammed his fist onto the table. "I was there," he hissed. "I watched Earth burn. I saw them beg. I saw the flames take their cities." His eyes were wild, his hands shaking with rage. "But we should have crushed their spirit, not just their homes." Another official spoke carefully. "If they've returned, we cannot fight them the old way. Their technology is still human," Varric snapped. "And humans break. We just need to remind them how." Varric ordered the assembly of the Black Sun Armada, an elite Dominion fleet built in secret, designed for extermination. Over 400 warships, guided by a new AI command unit, and armed with banned weapons forbidden even under Dominion law. It was a fleet never meant to be used, only shown as a threat. Now it was heading straight for Earth space. Back aboard the Revenant, the fleet prepared. Admiral Riva already knew. Dominion fleet movements had been detected the moment they launched. She stood alone on the upper deck, watching the stars with calm, steady eyes. "They're coming," General Mace said behind her. "I know. They're bringing everything." "Good." Riva turned. Her voice was quiet, but sharp as a blade. "They want to test if we're still human. Let's show them how far we've come." And so the stars grew quiet again. The galaxy watched and waited, holding its breath. For Earth was not just defending the helpless anymore. It was preparing to send a message no one would ever forget. The Black Sun. Armada arrived like a storm. 400 Dominion warships stretched across the stars in a brutal, perfect line. Their engines roared with unnatural power. Their hulls were coated in black alloy that shimmered like oil in space. This was the Dominion's hidden weapon. Ships built for one purpose only: extinction. No warnings, no surrender. Just destruction. These weren't the usual cruisers or patrol vessels. These were genocide tools. And they were headed straight for Sector 9, the last known position of Earth's war fleet. The galaxy watched in silence. Millions of systems picked up the movement. Pirates ran. Small worlds shut down their networks and hid. Neutral planets sent quiet messages to Earth's old communication points. Not with fear, but with hope. They had seen what Earth did at Talair and Garros 7. They knew who Earth had saved. Now, they wanted to believe Earth would survive what was coming next. But the question was on everyone's mind. Could anyone survive a weapon built to kill entire civilizations? Inside the Revenant, alarms were calm, controlled. The crew didn't panic. They didn't shout. They moved like they had practiced this moment 1,000 times. Tactical officers brought up data maps. Engineers reinforced the hull's shadow plating. AI systems scanned Dominion fleet patterns before the enemy even arrived. Admiral Riva stood at the center of it all, arms behind. Her back, eyes cold. She had studied Dominion war tactics her entire life. But what she was seeing now wasn't a tactic. It was fear disguised as fury. "They're coming fast," General Mace said. "Full spread, no stealth, no traps, just brute force." "They want to scare us," Riva replied. "They think we'll break like before." "And will we?" he asked, his voice quieter now. Riva turned her head, only slightly. "We didn't come out of the dark to run. Earth's fleet wasn't big, not compared to the Black Sun Armada. 22 ships, including the Revenant, 3 heavy cruisers, and 18 Shadow-class destroyers. But every single one was built for one mission: win battles no one else could. They weren't designed for war. They were designed to end it, as Xi. The Dominion ships entered Earth space. The stars above Sector 9 flickered, then vanished. Not because of weapons, but because of something far more terrifying: jammers. Earth had deployed a network of cloaked satellites across the sector. They didn't fire. They didn't move. They simply blinded the enemy. Dominion sensors began to fail. Their communications cracked. Their fleet formations bent and twisted as AI systems tried and failed to keep control. Then Earth struck, a single destroyer uncloaked behind the Dominion's left wing. It didn't use torpedoes or lasers. Instead, it released a soundless pulse, a compression wave, that passed through 3 ships and made them fold in on themselves like paper. Another destroyer appeared behind the central command vessel, dropped a black core bomb, and vanished again before the enemy could respond. The explosion didn't show on scanners, but the command vessel blinked off the grid and never returned. Panic spread across the Armada. "They're inside our line," one Dominion captain screamed. "They're everywhere! They're nowhere!" shouted another. "I can't lock on! I can't!" Then the Dominion AI command system did what it was programmed never to do. It ordered a retreat, but there was no retreat. Earth had deployed an ancient but perfected weapon, the Halo Net. Dozens of gravity anchors had been placed around the sector before the battle even began. Once activated, they created a spherical prison in space, an invisible cage. Dominion ships trying to jump out of the system found their warp drives overloaded, crushed by their own speed. Others turned in fear and slammed into mines hidden in asteroids. The Armada was trapped. Inside the Revenant, Reva watched as ship after ship blinked out. Her face didn't change. "Give them a chance to surrender," she said quietly. A message was broadcast to the remaining Dominion captains. "We are not here to conquer. We are not here to control. You came to destroy us. We offer you one chance. Leave your ships. Surrender." Live. For a long moment, there was silence. Then a Dominion battleship answered, not with words, but by firing all its weapons at the nearest Earth cruiser. Earth's reply was instant. A single kinetic spear launched from the Revenant, a needle of metal, no bigger than a shuttle. It pierced the battleship's shields, hull, core reactor, and command deck in 1 second. The ship split in half. No explosion, no scream. Just two halves drifting apart in silence. None of the remaining Dominion ships surrendered, and none of them survived. When the battle ended, Earth's fleet remained untouched. The space around them was littered with broken ships, frozen escape pods, and fire. But Earth didn't take prisoners. They took evidence. They recorded everything, and then they broadcast the truth across the galaxy. This is the cost of your fear. Earth does not seek war, but we will never run again. Back on Talair, the survivors watched the battle from old relay towers. Many cried. Some just stood in silence. The little girl who once asked if anyone would come now held the hand of her elder, staring up at the stars. "They protected us," she whispered. "No," the elder replied. "They avenged us." But far away, deep within the Dominion's core, systems, something ancient watched the destruction of the Black Sun Armada. It didn't speak. It didn't move. It simply activated. An old system, a last resort, one that hadn't been used in thousands of years. A mechanical voice spoke inside. "The chamber. If Earth cannot be defeated in space, bring war to their home." Earth didn't celebrate. Not after the destruction of the Black Sun Armada. There were no speeches, no songs, no public broadcasts of victory. The fleet simply returned to its hidden stations, rearmed, repaired, and watched the stars in silence. Humanity had not forgotten who they were, or why they had vanished from the galaxy long ago, and they knew better than to think the Dominion was finished. The real enemy, the one who had remained quiet while fleets burned and ships vanished, had not yet shown his face. That enemy was ready now. In the cold center of Dominion space, beneath layers of metal and darkness, the ancient vault opened. Dust fell like ash as a single figure stepped out of a stasis pod, tall, thin, almost skeletal, but wrapped in a dark robe with golden lines. His eyes were silver, glowing with age and hate. His name was Ethan Var, the last surviving architect of the old war. He had lived for over 1,000 years using biosleep and forbidden tech. He had been there when Earth fell. He had helped lead the betrayal that erased humans from galactic maps. And now, as he stepped into the light again, he smiled. "Earth has teeth," he whispered. "Good. It means they still bleed." Var didn't rebuild fleets. He didn't send soldiers. Instead, he reactivated the arc spear, a weapon so old, the galaxy had forgotten it existed. It wasn't a ship. It was a carrier of something worse, a planet breaker, a device meant to deliver an army directly onto an enemy's world, not through orbit, not through war, but by punching a hole into the surface and injecting death straight into the core. "Find Earth," Var commanded. "And this time, we will not just strike back. We will make them beg." Earth had always been cautious, even after returning. To battle, its leaders stayed hidden. Earth itself remained under cloak, But the Dominion's deep scouts, driven by Var's ancient codes, found something. A faint energy ripple. A quantum signal. A trail. It led them toward Sol, toward the place humanity was born. Toward the only planet humans still called sacred. Home. Back aboard the Revenant, Admiral Riva stood in front of a wide glass panel that looked into deep space. The stars were quiet, too quiet. Her AI systems had tracked something, an anomaly moving between sectors, almost invisible, almost perfect. But not perfect enough. Earth tech was older, Earth tech was sharper. She turned to General Mace, who stood beside her, holding a black tablet. "We found them," he said. "They're coming straight for Sol." Riva nodded. "Then we show them what happens when you threaten our home." At that moment, Earth's Global Command activated a code it had buried for centuries. Protocol Iron Sky. Civilian colonies were locked, outer system defense stations powered up, planetary shields, invisible domes of energy woven into Earth's orbit began to hum. The moon's surface cracked open as hidden cannons rose from below, and beneath Earth's oceans the Titan dreadnoughts, massive walking machines made for only one task, awoke. Children looked up from their schools and saw streaks of fire crossing the sky. Not falling stars, not comets. Earth's old defense system, the Skyburn grid, was coming online for the first time in 200 years. The people didn't panic. They didn't scream. They simply stopped, looked to the stars, and waited. They knew what was coming, and they knew what Earth had become. The arc spear dropped out of hyperspace just beyond Pluto's orbit. It looked like a spearhead the size of a city, covered in living metal, guided by Ethan Var's personal command. It didn't send warnings. It didn't fire weapons. It simply ignited its core and prepared to launch its payload, tens of thousands of Dominion shock troops, engineered in tubes, bred only to destroy. Earth responded with silence. Then in the next second, a net of light wrapped around the arc spear. Hundreds of satellites lit up, locking the weapon in place. Giant magnetic claws hidden in Jupiter's orbit shot forward and gripped the invader like a trap snapping shut. Earth didn't let it land. Earth didn't let it fire. It dissected it. Bit by bit, human systems stripped the arc spear's armor, fried its controls, shattered its weapons, and exposed its heart. The Dominion soldiers inside began to wake, but they didn't find Earth. They found cold, isolation, systems failing, no leadership. Then the entire spear was pulled by gravity, beams toward the sun. Inside the command pod, Ethan Var stared at the growing fire ahead. "You can't kill what doesn't fear death," he muttered, "but you fear everything." On Earth, in a command bunker deep below the Rocky Mountains, Riva watched the live feed as the arc spear was swallowed by the sun. Her hand didn't shake. Her voice didn't rise. She simply whispered, "No, we remember everything. That's why we built this." She turned to Mace. "Start the broadcast." A message went out across the galaxy. Not hidden, not encrypted, open and raw. Every world, every ship, every station received the same words. To the Dominion. To every empire that stood by while our people burned, you thought we were weak because we were quiet. But now, you've seen what we've built in the dark. We are not here to rule. We are not here to save everyone. We are here for justice. The reckoning is not over. It's just beginning. Back on Talair, the little Talani girl stood with her people. She looked to the stars as Earth's fleet passed overhead. One of the soldiers knelt beside her and gave her a small silver badge, the mark of Earth's war division. She held it close. "They used to call humans monsters," she whispered. Her elder smiled. "Maybe they still are." She shook her head. "No, they're what monsters are afraid of.